Yeah, good day sanibonani njani. My name is Mpumelelo Kamshengo Shabalala Uchago Mavuso Amhlophe Official nakuba kuyena. So guys, on today's video I just want to speak about some of the best things I love about working in China. So these things are socially motivated and also economically and also just the whole development of this country. So I'm just gonna go straight into these specific things that I do love about China. As a South African, of course, comparing the two countries because I've only lived in two countries, which is South Africa and obviously now I'm here in China. Before I proceed, please do remember to like, subscribe, comment down, and ask any questions regarding China, regarding South Africa, and maybe traveling, coming to work this side. Just ask any questions, and I'll be willing to answer all your questions. So then, yeah, guys, the first point when it comes to the best thing I love about working in China is the traveling, of course. When it comes to traveling and the ability or the chance China gives us when it comes to traveling, I truly, truly do love it because you get exposed to various countries in the world. You get exposed to different cultures, different setups, different designs, different everything. So I do love working in China because it allows us that flexibility. Niyazi ukuthi some of the teachers they travel to Europe, some they travel to Asia, some they travel to various countries. Some by Thailand, I've been to Thailand also. Some love Bali, Lapana. Some love going to Indonesia, Bali, these places. So when it comes to traveling, China does give that opportunity for you to be able to travel around the country and also around various countries. So that's one of the best things when it comes to this thing of working in China. And the second thing, you learn about development and service delivery. You also learn about infrastructure. And also, the best thing I like about working here is I got exposed to seeing the better banking systems and the competitions. So economically, I'm also aware you get educated about a lot of things by just living in this country and also by traveling. So when I speak about better banking systems, Lana in China, the last time I touched money, like paper money or a coin, was probably in 2019. That's the last time I touched Mali. The only time I touched Mali between these years, from 2019 up until now, it's if maybe I want to exchange some money from Ukepiteki or other banking accounts to get my yen. That means I'd have to go to ATM, withdraw imali from my South African bank account, and then obviously I'm gonna get Chinese money. But besides that, you're not gonna touch imali. You're not gonna carry cash. You're not gonna carry coins if you are living in China because they have the best banking systems. Uyakwazi ukukhokha with WeChat. You can also pay with Alipay on everything from taxi, from train to subway. So that's one of the best things that I do love about this country. Also for safety, because niyazi ukuthi uma uphethe imali eSouth Africa, some even use Moti to smell if you have money in the CBDs of Joburg and Durban, and then bakubambe inkunzi bekuphuca imali. So if you are in this country, you are safe from such things. So that's one of the best things. And also when it comes to infrastructure, China has like 1.5 billion people, uh, still counting. When it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to how they set up their whole planning and town planning, urban planning, you see what it's one of the best in the world because they're able to just create enough buildings using the land that they have to accommodate all their people very well. So if you are here in China, you'd see what there's always tall buildings, very high buildings. I live in a community that has like 29 floors, and also other buildings have like 32 floors. So that is a norm here in China ukuthi people live in high tall buildings. Uyawathola amabhilidi anama-floors ako-40 to 50. So that's also the great architecture and also the great infrastructure that they have developed here. And also they do have underground development and infrastructure whereby you'd find things like so yeah, guys, as I was saying, when it comes to infrastructure, you'd find things like subways, which are trains that go underground, uthola ukuthi these subways or these platforms or their lines, they go from a very long distance. So I'll try and show you like a map of a subway ukuthi ihamba kanjani from the city of Suzhou till the city of Shanghai. So when it comes to the development of infrastructure and also the transportation, the roads, the bridges and everything, they are the best in the world, honestly, because I've also heard that some Americans attesting ukuthi when it comes to infrastructure, the Chinese infrastructure is currently the best because they are doing a great job in developing their countries. And we also know some of the photos where you see, for instance, in Shanghai in 1990, ukuthi injani, and then you see Shanghai in 2023, you see the difference ukuthi in the past 30 years, what kind of infrastructure development they've done. So it's also feasible and visible to us. Another thing I do love about this country, it's also the competition in the banking system. For example, if I withdraw 1,000 kwai like China, they're just gonna charge me one kwai for that thousand. If you withdraw 100 kwai, they're just gonna charge you like one kwai, not one kwai, 1 cent. So that's how they do count most of the banks. And the reason for that is because there are many banks here in China. There's China Construction Bank, there's Bank of China, there's Bank of Telecom. There's a lot of banks in China. So that does, it brings competition and it allows Wuti the cost of banking, the cost of taking loans, if you're going to take loans and all those things, is going to remain very cheap because of that. So compare that to South Africa, it's a whole different story. South Africa, uyakwazi ukuboleka iland to buy a polo, for instance. You go to the bank, they're gonna charge you 18% interest. You're gonna end up paying like 700,000 for a polo viv. So that's some of the downs. Or as you, if you are here in China, you want to buy a car on a loan or credit, it's not gonna cost that high because there's a lot of banks and the competition in, so their interest rates remains very low. Another thing I like about living here, obviously, it's the safety. There's no crime in China, or there's close to zero crime in China, especially cyber, physical. Also, when it comes to car theft, all types of crimes in China, they're very rare. I could literally order people's phones and leave them at my doorstep, go on a holiday in another country for 3 weeks, come back, and I'll still find those cell phones outside my doorstep. So that's how safe China is. You can leave your car unattended, doors open for the whole weekend. I mean, the only thing that people are gonna do is probably close the door for you, and that's it. If they see Wuti, there's rain and so on. Otherwise, nothing is gonna be stolen. It also comes with the safety measures they have here. There's cameras almost everywhere, so safe when even walking, taking night walks about 2 a.m. No matter where you are, even if you're alone in a park, you kind of feel safe because you know someone somewhere is really watching those cameras, and yeah, you're always safe in this country. So another thing about I love about this country is also the safety. Mesekuza, another part is the concepts of the best of production when it comes to marketing and also the Hong Kong. You know, I'm a Hong Kong from Hong Kong. You learn about these things when you live in this country. Growing up as a 90s kid in South Africa, uhlezi uzwa kuthiwa kunama-Hong Kong from Hong Kong. That was the reputation these people had, especially in Africa, especially in South Africa. But then once you get here, you get to see the whole concept of maybe taking a BW Behlakaze and creating their own car, taking maybe an HP laptop Behlakaze and creating their own laptop with a different brand. Taking even cell phones, I've called Motorola, all these brands from other countries, Behlakaze, learn it and produce cell phones like Huawei, produce cell phones like Oredame. They also take Tesla because Tesla is one of the biggest EV cars in the world. They also took Tesla, and the biggest hub or the production hub for Tesla is based in China, in Shanghai. So what you see and can witness from that alone, Wuti, they allowed the Tesla to come and assemble its cars here in China, obviously for cheaper production, and they were able to learn Wuti, this is how you build a Tesla, this is how you create everything within the Tesla, the systems, the technology and everything. And what they did, they created the XPeng. They created Byte, which is Build Your Dreams. That's another car brand from China. They also created Ineo. There's also cars like Buick and so on. So you can see if you compare, for example, a Tesla and the Xpeng, you'll find that the Xpeng has just a slightly better things here and there because they're trying to improve from Tesla. The whole concept of Amafong Lenhle zenwabiza ngawo. Also in South Africa, we're seeing cars like Ocherry, we're seeing cars like Ihavali, GWM. So all these cars are from China. And if you get inside Icherry and you compare them with their competition cars such as the seven-seater cars or Fortune and Nan, when it comes to specs, Cherry is doing very great. When it comes to even an SUV, comparing the Cherry to maybe an X5 and X6. Some of the technology you get as a standard in a Cherry, you get it as extra with BM, and you have to pay like a million, 1.2 million for that car. So when it comes to learning how these people do these things, and when you are here in China, you get to see what's high. These people, they master this thing and they do it to the perfection, and you're getting to exposed to such things, you're getting to witness such things, you're getting to learn such things firsthand. So that's another thing that's great about working and living here. And another thing when it comes to uh, even e-service delivery, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to cheap cost of living. So when it comes to healthcare, in terms of issue about China, there's like 1.4 billion people in China. Each city is probably going to have like 50, 60 million, 100 million, depending how big the city is and how busy it is. But speaking from experience, during times like COVID, in the city of Isujo, there's probably like people in a district. So that's how big Isuzu is, and that's how the population is. So when it comes to e-service delivery, such as people testing, people taking vaccinations and so on, they did that thing very quickly. It shows ukuthi when it comes to their healthcare and also service delivery, they take it very seriously. Because I have never stood in China in a hospital for like 1 hour or more. I've never, like honestly, even if I'm just accompanying someone who needs to go to the doctor or checkups and so on. I've never had to sit for like 1 hour, 2 hour in a public hospital. There's always like an in and out. So you get to see even in their healthcare, their public healthcare, they do drive serious service delivery. And also, when it comes to the cheap cost of living, you are able to survive in China with 1,000, 2,000 kwai per month, if we are honestly speaking, because you are able to buy in these small shops, fruits, veggie, the small butchers that sell things very cheap. So when it comes to even the cost of living, the cost of housing and living, it's very cheap. The one thing that is expensive though, if you want to buy property in China, it's gonna be expensive, obviously because of umhlaba. When it comes to owning land, it's such a big deal here in China because there's a lot of people and umhlaba is only limited, so it's gonna be expensive. But if you wanna be renting, living in certain areas, you're gonna pick. There are very cheap places to live in here in China. And lastly, is the education setup. Niyazi ukuthi they always say Chinese are very clever. If you work here in China, you get to experience ukuthi why is that so. You get to experience their type of education systems. You get to experience their policies in education, what a child from kindergarten up to high school day is like in school. So a norm in China for a kindergarten learner would get in at school at 7:30 in the morning, and they will leave school at 4:30 in the morning. Some of these kids from the ages of 3, 4, 5 years, bazopuma from kindergarten, they're gonna attend extra classes like in the afternoons around 5, 6, 7 p.m. Some are gonna do extra English classes in training centers around or 7, 8 p.m. The next morning they go to school 7:30. On Saturday they're gonna do something and probably just rest on Sunday. So now just imagine ukuthi ingane from the age of 4, 5 years is ekuseni up until 16:30, just learning, being at school, getting information. So it's bound ukuthi leyo ngane izoba ne-knowledge eningi because they get drilled at a very young age. By the time they're in primary school, a grade 7 child can easily compete with the grade 12 child in South Africa when it comes to things like science or maths, because they have been studying ahead of their time. They put in more hours, and that's why they're going to come out as very clever compared to others. And just to back it up in a way, or the South African context, you'd find in South Africa that some schools that are based in townships, some schools that are based in rural areas, you'd find that the principals or their leaders and teachers are putting much more effort. So you would see those schools are not going to clock out at 2:30, but will clock out at 4 every day, Monday to Friday. Sunday, they're going to have night schools. And when it comes to matric results, you'd find that school always performs 100%. The school is getting what distinction and so on. So this is because they're using the same concept here like China, and the results are showing they are there. But then again, guys, when it comes to implementing such things back home, it's quite different. So Maulana, you get to experience it, and maybe people who are teachers here in China and working in China can be able to go back in South Africa and implement what they've learned here, because they know the outcomes, they know the benefits of producing such policies in the education sector, and what are the outcomes of it. Even when it comes to the handwork, Amativet in South Africa, they deal with more practical work. Here in China, kuyahlukana futhi nakhona, they are able to identify ingane from early high school ukuthi okay, this one is good in this sector, this one is good here, lo kumele uyofunda lapha. And then you are able to direct ingane from a very young age rather than waiting for matric. So these are things that we are exposed when it comes to teachers here in China. I'm just putting a heads up for the government in South Africa. If you want to maybe develop in South Africa, you want South Africa to progress, you are lucky because you have teachers working in various countries, teachers working in developed countries, teachers being exposed to different systems. When they go back to South Africa, ningabi nomona. Ama-comrade lapha, qashani abantu, because they have the experience. Anyways, guys, I do remember to like, subscribe, comment down. I know I love talking. This video is very long, but then it's for educational purposes. This is just to highlight some of the best boring things about working and living in China, and some of the educational things rather than ukhuluma ngemgroove and so on. Nemjolo, danko.